Equity for punks. Is it worth it?
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. This is a little bit of a different one today, so bear with me, and it's to do with Brewdog. Now, before you ask, I'm drinking some of this stuff. This is the Kent Life Classic Bitter. I've just reviewed it. It's a really nice bitter, brewed in Burton-on-Trent and using Kentish hops from the hop farm that is called Kent Life. Very nice it is too. But you didn't come here for that, did you? You want to know about equity for punks. What is it? Well, everyone must have heard of Brewdog. Been going since 2007. Whether you like it or not, they did kickstart the craft beer revolution in this country. There's no denying that. In 2010, when Punk IPA came out, that changed the game for everyone. Even the big boys, AB InBev and all that, got very scared of the burgeoning craft beer phenomenon, and over 10 years later it is where it is now. Brewdog is one of the biggest brands in craft beer, if not the biggest. Certainly in the UK it is, but they do things a little bit differently, and I want to get to the bottom of what they call equity for punks. Now, equity for punks is something that they've come up with. It's a scheme they've come up with, whereas you buy what they call shares. I'll get onto that in a minute. They call shares, and it gives you some benefits, and in their words, it gives you the opportunity to own a part of Brewdog. Sounds great, doesn't it? But just hang on. There are a few things that you really should know before you part with your money for this, okay? Now, the reason for doing this is I got an email through Brewdog, because I have signed up for Brewdog's newsletters and stuff, just to see what's going on. To be honest, personally, I am not a massive fan of their beer. It's very hit and miss. Don't get me wrong, they do some good beers, but they do some average beers and they do some downright shit. That is a fact, in my opinion anyway, and a lot of people will agree with me. Now, of course, taste is subjective, but that's what I've found, and it's what I find with a lot of other people as well when they talk about Brewdog beer. That's by the by. But a lot of breweries do bad beer, a lot of breweries do average beer, and a lot of breweries do good beer. Now, what I want to make clear about this equity for punks is it's not as it seems, okay? So if you think you're buying a share of a company or shares of a company, you think you have a part, you own a part of that company, you have an investment, and you have a say. They're the three sort of benefits that you would expect, depending on how many you buy, of course, but you would at least think you own part of the company, you would at least think that you have a say if you have enough shares, and you would at least think that it's an investment. Now, of course, anything to do with shares is a gamble. The value of shares, as they say in all the disclaimers, it can go up and it can go down. But if you think it's going to go down, or if you like playing the markets, you can trade your shares in, you can sell them, sometimes for a higher price, sometimes for a big return as well. However, there is a difference between them, what you call A shares, and what Brewdog do, which are called B shares. I'll get onto what they are, what that is in a minute. First of all, I just want to fill you in on the prices. Shares are, as it stands now, from what I've been told and reading the prospectus, shares are £25.15 each. So say, for example, you want to buy one share for £25.15. Can't do it. The minimum you've got to buy is two. So that's immediately £50.30 that you're parting with. These shares are not underwritten by anyone. They are B shares. They are not tradable on the open market. The only way you can sell these is via Brewdog's matching scheme. So you'll want to sell some other people might want to buy some. Sounds good? You've got to pay 3% of whatever you sell them for. Well, you're going to lose 3% just for selling them. Now, you could argue that A shares are like this as well, and you have to sometimes, when you sell them, you pay a broker fee as well, which is fair enough. Okay, so that's not really the issue here, I don't think, anyway. What Brewdog are attempting to do in this latest round of what is effectively crowdfunding is to go greener, basically. And they have various ideas and proposals that they want to put forward which require funding. Okay, and what they've done is they've asked you, the general public, to fund part of that. The goal is £50 million. And that's broken up. For now, they just want to raise 7.5 million. It's not 50 million in one go, it's just 7.5 million. Currently, Brewdog are worth 214, nearly 215 million pounds. So it is a big concern. And I just want to give you an idea. I've had to write it down. I don't normally take notes on my reviews, but I'm not going to remember all this. So I'm going to have to read this out to you. What do they want the money for? Okay, they want to fund electric delivery vehicles. Okay, it's all about the eco and saving the planet and all that, right? CO2 regenerator. So any CO2 that they emit, they want to regenerate that and put that back into the beer. Now, I don't know where the CO2 is coming from, but you'd hope it's cleaned and in a good source. They want to open up their own hop farm so they can grow their own hops. Fair enough. They want to wind power all of their breweries so they're not electricity dependent from an external source. They want to open up a new carbon neutral bar. They want to convert their spent grain into gas. They want to make their brewery in Berlin, they want to make it solar powered, and also the one in Columbus in Ohio, and also the one in Brisbane in Australia. That's how big they've got. They've expanded to Berlin, Brisbane and Columbus in Ohio in America. They want to open up a new French brewery because France, they say, is their biggest export market. Interesting, but I know the frogs can't make beer, but they're buying Brewdog, so okay. And they want to open up a brewery in Asia. Fine. These are all expansion and embellishment programs, which is, some of these, you can say are commendable, all right? But they want you to partially crowdfund it with the idea that you own a share. Now, this equity for punks is the scheme that they're doing, and what it is basically is a crowdfunding scheme. I wouldn't call it that. I would call it a very expensive membership scheme. Now, you get certain benefits when you buy these. I hate doing this fucking thing, but I'm going to call them shares in the loosest possible term. They're B shares. So when you think shares, like normally you can trade them in the market, you can't. All right? So get that into your head. And with that in your head, just think you're not really going to make money out of this. This is not the road to riches if you buy Brewdog's Equity for Punk shares. So that's something to bear in mind. But when you buy these shares, bear in mind these are £25.15 each. You can only buy a minimum of 2. You can buy as many as you want, but the minimum you can buy is 2. So that's 50 quid basically. So for 50 quid, these are the benefits, and I've had to write these down as well because there's supposedly a lot of benefits, and I use benefits in the loosest possible term. The benefits are you can own a part of Brewdog. Well, I've already gone through that. You don't really own a part of Brewdog. What you are doing, you are basically crowdfunding, and you're buying what I like to call pseudo shares. They're not really shares, they're B shares. You get life discount on bars and shops, etc. So, if you buy 19 shares, now 19 shares, you do the maths. You do the maths, as they say over here. If you buy 19 shares for that amount of money, you will get a 5% discount on the bars and shops. Now bear in mind 5%, that's fuck all really. If you buy 20, you get 20%, all right? So there's your incentive to buy more shares, if you like. You get free beer on your birthday, right? Free beer, not free beer, a free beer on your birthday. So you get one beer basically on your birthday. You get an invite to the AGM, right? This AGM, now, I want to talk a little bit about this annual general meeting, okay? So you'd imagine it's like sitting around a table, them putting forward their proposals, you sticking your hand up and saying, well, I think, you know, this latest beer you brought out is shit. Oh no, you can't do that. It doesn't give you a say in the AGM. All it will do, it's basically a piss up. You know, they have live bands, they have beer, and, you know, they tell you what they're going to do. Now, this is up in Aberdeen, they do this, all right? So you've got to make your fat ass all the way up to Aberdeen. Now, I live in Kent, so if I bought some Brewdog shares and I wanted to go to their annual meeting, I would I would have to travel the length of the country to go to this. So that's going to cost me more. To go to a meeting that I've got absolutely no say in, well, I've got to buy my own beer. Come on, man. You get a badge. Whoopee. Equity for Punks badge. You also get a discount on vegan food. Fair enough if you're a vegan. You get exclusive merch. You know, this is all geared to you buying more stuff, to giving more money to Brewdog. And you get discount on a homebrew kit. Some people might like that. You know, I just think that's stretching it a bit. And you get your own tree in a Brewdog forest. So they're going to plant loads of trees and you get a tree. That's all your own. Could you do what you want with it? Could you say, all right, I'm going to go out to that forest, I'm going to chop my tree down and I'm going to chop it up and use it for firewood. Do you think you'd be allowed to do that? Nah, I'm not having that. There's other benefits you get as well. Sorry, I've had to write all this down and I'm reading it off a hymn sheet. I hate doing that because it looks unprofessional, but I can't remember everything that they've got. But for the more you spend, you do get more benefits as well. But you have to spend thousands to get these benefits. You're spending thousands for stuff that costs pounds. All right, so just bear that in mind. Let me just talk a little bit more about the shares. Now, I've said a few times that they're B shares. What are B shares? B shares are not listed on the open market. Now, Brewdog have consistently said that they are going to float their company on the stock exchange, but it's for in the future. Now, they've been saying that ever since they've been doing this equity for punks, and they still haven't done it. And I can see why, because why should they? They do make a point about these being shares that, you know, that you can own a part of Brewdog. It's a fucking scam on this part when they say that. There's another company that owns part of Brewdog. This is the company that own part of Brewdog. Now, you can bet your bottom dollar that they bought their shares for a lot cheaper than they're selling this equity for punks. The difference is they were A shares. Now, even though Brewdog do retain the majority shareholder stake in the company, this company own 22%. Right? That is similar to the total that all you people who have invested in this equity for punks, that is the maximum that is allowed to be owned by you. Which, you know, you think you're up against a company, a multinational company that has paid a hell of a lot for their shares. They've got more of a say, or just as much say as you have. Difficult. As a shareholder, you'd think you'd have a say in how the company is run. So if you say, well, do you know what, Brewdog, some of your beers are shit, you really need to up your game, you're using dodgy ingredients, you're focusing too much on IPAs, etc. You're not concentrating on this, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. Brewdog, being the majority shareholder, they have the right to just totally ignore anything you say. So if even you manage to get every single equity for punks shareholder on board with you for something you were proposing, even if you did that, you would have no say. But that's the nature of shares. You know, if you're not a majority shareholder, you don't really have a say. So, you know, all this owning a part of Brewdog, I don't buy it. And again, these shares are B shares. There's no guarantee in dividends. In fact, Brewdog have a policy of not paying dividends. So if they have a really successful year, they will not pay you a fucking bean. Not a thin penny will they pay you. That is their policy. So the notion that you're going to get anything back from this simply by lying on your fat ass doing nothing is untrue. You're not going to get anything. Even if Brewdog have a bumper fucking year of profits, you're going to get the square root of fuck all for your money. Just so as you know that. B shares are not regulated by by the Financial Conduct Authority. Brewdog can basically make up the rules as they go along. All right? Now they do say this to Brewdog's credit. You know, they do have a big disclaimer. They have to. Before you buy these shares, they say, you know, your money's at risk, blah, 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 you could lose all your money, etc., etc. And again, it comes back to my point is, you know, when they say you own part of the company, you don't really own a part of the company. You have a little thing, and I'm going to call it a thing because that's what it is. You have a little thing that you can sell to someone if they want to buy. Once a year, you can only do this once a year. You can't, you know, all of a sudden if you hit hard times, if you bought a load of shares and you hit hard times, and say it's, for example, January, and these shares aren't being sold till June, you've got to wait till June before you can even contemplate selling these shares, because you just can't. You simply can't. You have to use this matching system that they promote, or that, you know, they use as basically the only way you can sell these shares. With all that said, you know, I've had a couple of subscribers, well, one subscriber in particular who's called this a Ponzi scheme. And, you know, a Ponzi scheme basically means you get nothing for your money back while they make a lot of money. You do get something back. So calling it a Ponzi scheme, I think, is a little tiny bit stretching the market. But he does have a point when you consider what do you get back? Everything you get back is apart from the little badge and everything you get back is an incentive to spend more money with Brewdog. I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, you have to take your hat off to Brewdog. They are good business people. They may be very average fucking brewers, in my opinion, but they are very good business people. And the way they've worked this equity for punks, what they've done is they've devised a scheme whereas you give them money to spend on their projects, and the benefits you get back are incentives for you to spend more money with Brewdog. It's almost cult-like. It's like, I would look at this as a very, very expensive membership scheme. Now, it has to be said, some people that bought the initial equity for Brewdog, when they sold their shares, they did make money. Some of them got their money back. Some of them got a little bit over. There was no, you know, riding off into the sunset with bags of money stories, but they managed to retain some of the shares and they sold some and got their money back. That is not going to happen now. There is just too many. I think at the moment there are 130 odd thousand shareholders. I think that's what the figure was. Now, you're not really going to make much money if there's that many shareholders, and I can't see, the more shareholders there are, I can only see the price or the value of these shares going down and down. So what is the verdict on Brewdog's equity for punks? Some people have called it a Ponzi scheme. On the face of it, it's not a Ponzi scheme, but because the definition of a Ponzi scheme. People who pay into a Ponzi scheme don't get anything back at all. Technically, you are getting something back, but what you're getting back is an incentive to spend more money with them. Now, you could argue the semantics about that really is a Ponzi scheme, but you get a badge and you get, you know, a beer on your birthday, and you just look at that. That's basically all you get for free for your money, and you just think, what a fucking piss take. So, I'm not going to say, because I'm not qualified to give you financial advice, all right? So I'm going to try and cover my arse here. I'm not going to say buy them, don't buy them. I'm going to tell you what I would do. I would not fucking buy them, because you would have to spend a hell of a lot more money from these discount options that you're offered to make it worthwhile, basically. So I wouldn't do it. I'm not a massive fan of Brewdog beer, so obviously I'm not going to buy on that premise. But when you know, even if this was, say, I don't know, imagine it was someone like Paulaner or Weinstefano or somebody like that, one of my favourite breweries that were offering this kind of scheme, would I buy into it? No, I don't think I would. If it was exactly the same terms, yeah, I'd love the beer, don't get me wrong. I love Paulaner, I love Weinstefano, I love everything they do. I don't love them that much though. I couldn't part with, you know, a minimum of £50 just for the benefit of getting a bit of a discount on some of their beers. Some people have told me, now I don't know how true this is, but some people have told me that the discounts they offer in their bars are the same as what they sell for in the supermarket. But I could well believe that, because it's obviously the supermarket's going to get a really cut price rate to sell their beers. They're going to make a profit, and they're going to sell them for what you probably get the discount on in their bars, because Brewdog bars are expensive. So I hope that's given you a little insight on this whole equity for punks scheme. Now, I'm not saying don't buy it. If you want to do it, fucking go for it. If you're loaded and you want to spend thousands and thousands, then be my guest. But personally, I think you're better off, if you really want to buy proper shares, put your money in a brewery that lists them on the market as A shares. For example, like Marston's, Carlsberg. Marston shareholders made an absolute fucking fortune with that merger. Now, again, I'm not offering financial advice, but I'm just pointing a few trends out. A listed shares make you money. B listed shares, and especially the equity for punks, will not make you money. So as long as you know that, and as long as you know that every penny you pay to Brewdog gives you another incentive to spend more money with Brewdog, then if you're fine with that, fucking charge on. If you're not, then don't buy it. And remember, beer is working class
Like
champagne.
and subscribe. Or the puppy gets it. Isn't that right, Purse? Yeah, get off.